Welcome to our DTC Sports 2015-2016 high school basketball preview. I'm Tom Duggin. To my far left is my fellow DTC Sports play-by-play announcer Terry Collins. And in the middle is White County assistant basketball coach and former Cannon County assistant Darvin Gill. Guys, getting prepared for basketball season, we've got a four-part series here where we're going to be breaking down the two districts that we'll be covering this year for DTC Sports. We'll start today with the District 8A girls. And, of course, we're going to go back, first of all, and take a look at the standings from a year ago and kind of let you see what happened in this district last year. Watertown, the team that inevitably went on to win the district, made a run to the region semifinals. Then you had Red Boiling, Good Pasture, Trousdale County, and Gordonsville. One team that did not factor last year was Merrill Hyde due to some injuries and attrition. They did not finish out the season. They're going to make an attempt, as we understand, to bring basketball back this year. Darvin, Watertown, as we'll start off with them, one of the teams that we'll be seeing on the DTC Sports schedule this year. They lose 3 key seniors, but they bring back 4 seniors and a pretty good nucleus from that team that went 21-9 a year ago.
A pretty good squad, pretty athletic, especially when you consider single-A school, Watertown. You know, they've actually had a resurgence of the program recently. I know, obviously, when you talk about what Watertown's been able to do, Coach Price has been pretty good about really getting Watertown, a transformation, really, of Watertown. They had a good base before, and now they've been able to get some athletes in there, and they have really been the one team out of this district. Obviously, last year they were the one team that got to region semifinals that match up with, of course, the ever-mentioned 7A. And, you know, Watertown is expected, I think, this year. I have seen them play already this fall. Me at White County, we have seen a common opponent. Smith County has played them before the season started in a play day. We played Smith County in a regular season game. So Watertown is really, I think, head and shoulders in this 8A as of right now.
With Mofield and Stats High, Gaines all coming back as seniors on that squad this year, look for Watertown to be right in the thick of things again this year. Terry, as we look at the Gordonsville Tigerettes, another team in our district, this is a team that for the first time in a quarter century won't have Butch Agee on the sidelines as Keith Goolsby comes in and takes over the reins. And he's got a pretty young team to work with, 7-25 a year ago, and Butch Agee's last year. Coach Goolsby's going to come in. What changes do you know of that he's making maybe with Gordonsville, and what's the outlook for the Tigerettes this year?
Got to see the Tigerettes play last night. Mount Juliet Christian was the opponent. They struggled big time offensively. They only tallied 19 points the entire game and 1 point in the fourth quarter. Their first game, they played Macon County. That was on a Tuesday night, a Hall of Fame game, only scored 25 points in that ball game. I think it's learning a new system, and anytime you're in a situation where you have somebody like Butch Agee that's been there 26 years, coached in probably over 800 ball games in his career there at Gordonsville and had a lot of successful teams. I know Gordonsville as of late has been down, but this is not a real strong girls basketball district. I think, you know, if Gordonsville can get their offensive woes settled, I see them maybe competing for a second or third place in the district.
Tell us about some of the young talent that this roster does feature, and I know some of these kids last year played as freshmen and sophomores. It's not a senior-heavy team by any means, but youth, of course, some inexperience, but there's some experience coming back from some players that played a lot of minutes last year.
Well, you got Ashley Grice, you got Caitlin Griffin, you got Robin Ann Horde, 3 girls that played a lot for them or started a year ago. And when you look at that, yeah, they may be back on the floor, but they're not necessarily in the same role as they were a year ago. And I think maybe redefining those roles and being more of a scorer than they were previously makes it tough. And I think the one thing with Gordonsville is once Keith kind of gets used to them and they get used to him, you got to remember Keith Goolsby has never been a girls basketball coach. He's coached boys before and been very successful at the junior high level, but he's never coached girls as a head coach. So it's a different feel for him, and I'm sure that with them, I think they're looking for continuity, and they're definitely looking for some offensive spark. They shot a lot of threes last night in the first half against Mount Juliet Christian, weren't very successful, missed them close. It wasn't like they were throwing up a lot of air balls or that the shots didn't look good. They just weren't making shots. And I think it makes you look a lot poorer as a team when those shots don't go in.
We'll be seeing Watertown and Gordonsville, of course, throughout the season here on DTC Sports. Guys, as we kind of take a look at the other teams in this district, Darvin, I'm going to start with Red Boiling Springs, and this is another team that's losing a longtime coach. Larry White's moved on to Macon County, and you've got Dustin McKinney coming in for the first time this season. Trousdale County, a first-year coach coming in as Jeremy Wilhelm will replace Bud Brandon, who was there a year ago. First of all, starting with Red Boiling Springs, a change maybe of culture there after Coach White steps down after a lengthy tenure there.
Oh, yeah. Actually, we've played Red Bowling in this fall, one of the fall play day events. They are much improved. I feel like that they've got a lot of returning people. They've got a system. I think he's got a system in place already. Dustin does, where they are showing some marked improvement, and I think they're going to be a team. Coming off of 13 wins last year, I would expect them to improve that mark. You talk about Trousdale. Jeremy Wilhelm was actually the girls' coach last year. He has been. Bud Brandon was moved from the boys' side. He was actually at the boys' side.
You're right.
And Coach Wilhelm, Jeremy is somebody that has really put in some time and effort there in that program and trying to change what is not. We know Trousdale from our football. It's a football school per se, and Coach Wilhelm has done a job trying to get that culture to change a little bit on the girls' basketball. Both those teams, I would expect the Red Bowling and Trousdale this year to have some wins this year that surprise some people. I know there's some young talent at both places, and I think that those are the teams that look to make the biggest strides this year.
The two teams, Terry, we're kind of, I guess, least familiar with, Merrill Hyde and Good Pasture. They're kind of on the perimeter, the outsiders, so to speak, and we don't get to see them quite as often. But Merrill Hyde, they'll have their work cut out for them trying to reestablish the basketball program. And Good Pasture's much success as they've had on the boys' side, not quite as much on the girls' side of things.
Well, they've really struggled. I think last year you're looking at a 5-23 record. Of course, Gordonsville beat them in the third-place game, if I remember right, a year ago. Good Pasture, a team, though, that kept some games close but could not win the close ball games. And I guess, they could have probably had closer to a 500 record. After Watertown last year, you could kind of throw those other four in a hat, and whoever you drew out, had an opportunity to win. Of course, when you look at Trousdale County a year ago, they chose not to play Good Pasture, so that put them as the lower seed. And then they went to Gordonsville, of course, in the opening round of the district game that I got to see, and Gordonsville beat them to put them out of the tournament, when if they'd played them, I think they'd maybe been a number 3 seed and wouldn't even had to play, would have automatically went ahead and been in the region. So that was a choice that they made back to start the year, one that you may could question, because, if you finish first, second, or third in that 5-team district, then you're automatically in the district semifinals, which means you're automatically in the region.
And I do believe that was not a strictly basketball related. I believe that was correct. A school system, school related decision there.
All right, folks, you can watch District 8A basketball this season on DTC Sports. Be sure to go to www.dtc3.tv to get our complete list of games coming up right here on DTC Sports. For Terry and Darvin, I'm Tom Duggin for DTC Sports.